Hello, wrestling fans. This is Sal Rough Cuts Lasardo reporting in on a very somber moment in the world of professional wrestling. Today, Thursday, January 24th, it has been reported and confirmed WWE Hall of Famer, the legendary, the immortal, the incredible Hulk Hogan has passed away at the age of 71. He was found unresponsive by EMTs in his Clearwater home. He had went into cardiac arrest and he has passed away. It has been confirmed and reported by several news outlets. It is a very sad, somber, mixed emotional feeling day regarding Hulk Hogan. And words cannot express the tremendous loss that the wrestling world has seen because of the impact that Terry had brought on to the world of professional wrestling. I want to take a few moments to talk about the legend of Hulk Hogan and try to remember the positive things about Hulk Hogan, and hopefully you as the fans will be able to look back and reflect and say, you know, he's got to be on your Mount Rushmore of professional wrestling. But let me just say this, please be advised, these are my opinions only. They're not affiliated with any wrestling promotion whatsoever. This is the uncut version, The Truth by Rough Cuts, Sal Rough Cuts, mourning the sadness and the loss of professional wrestler Terry Hulk Hogan Bollea. Terry's career, if you go back and remember, was a heel. He was managed by Freddie Blassie. Back in the day, he wrestled in New Japan and was primarily a heel before the Vince McMahon took over and became this immortal creature, wrestler per se, that shocked the wrestling waves and brought wrestling to the forefront in the WWF when Vince McMahon brought it from his father, the WWF. But it was Vince McMahon and Hulk Hogan teaming up to give us Hulkamania, Rick Derringer, a real American, and it took off. And for many years throughout the 80s, Hulk Hogan was a larger-than-life persona. Say your prayers, take your vitamins, you know, be true to your country, the whole 9 yards. And world champion reigns, you know, headlined WrestleMania 1, headlined WrestleMania 2, headlined WrestleMania 3 with the Andre the Giant, 93,000, and the Pontiac Silverdome where he body slammed Andre. Yeah, I remember he fought Andre at Shea Stadium when the roles were reversed and Andre was a face and Hogan was a heel. And I still go back and say that that was Hogan's best match by far with Andre. That was Hogan's best match with Andre. The one in Shea Stadium, I thought Andre wasn't as heavy. I mean, they moved around a bit more. So I actually felt that that was a better match than the one at Mania. But, you know, it's still 93,000 main event. He main evented WrestleMania 1 with Mr. T, and they teamed up to take on Piper and Orndorff. Main evented WrestleMania 2, they took on Bundy in the cage. Had infamous feuds with Roddy Piper, Paul Orndorff, Randy Savage, Greg Valentine, Don Morocco. He fought Morocco in a cage. He fought basically everybody in a cage at some point. You know, he was getting his butt whipped, beat down, and then he became this Hulk Hogan, you know, like Bill Bitsky morphed into the Hulk where you just couldn't drag him down and knock him down. And he got up and did this like, you just can't touch me, you know, I'm immortal Hulk Hogan, and he, you know, throws the, you know, the clothesline and the leg, you know, the leg drop, and 1, 2, 3, and the crowd goes wild. As a wrestler, look, he's a great talker, like Ric Flair, a great talker, no doubt about it. I mean, Hogan can talk, you know, and get that whole thing going with the brother thing, you know, and it could really get you wanted to tune in. But, you know, as a wrestler, he's about average, I would say, about average. He really didn't have any moves. I've said it on a number of other rough cuts. The longest match that he had that I really recall was when he fought Dr. D. David Schultz in the Minneapolis Massacre, which was arguably the bloodiest match I've ever seen Hogan in, and that was arguably Hogan's best match. of his entire career. It's the Minneapolis Massacre. It's on YouTube. It's against Dr. D, David Schultz. David Schultz was at one point one of his trainers. David Schultz was one of his trainers, and early on, Hogan was living with Dr. D. And I believe there was a real feud between the two, going on between these two. They just had a major falling out. So it was sad in that regard. I lost a lot of respect over the years with Hogan, not to really dwell on it because this is a very somber day, but if you look back, the Richard Belzer incident, that really hit a cornerstone with me. And yet Dr. D slapped and slapped the reporter, on the George Michael sports machine, Stossel, and then Dr. D loses his job, but Hogan nearly broke Richard Belzer's neck for real, and they settled out of court, and yet Hogan doesn't lose his job. And then there's all the other things about Hogan not putting people over, his Hogan knows best, that basically was the beginning and the end, and then there was some things that came out about him, his political views and things that went on. But let's just put it in perspective. Yeah, Terry Bollea, the person, may have not been the most, lovable or likable or, he rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, whatever. We don't really know the whole truth. We only hear from wrestlers and people. I never interacted with Terry, so I can't make a judgment, but it's just what I've seen. But there's no doubt that he revolutionized professional wrestling. There is no doubt in my mind he revolutionized professional wrestling as we know it today. We had Hulkamania, we got the music, and then when he turned heel with the NWO, that was like the biggest heel turn in the history of professional wrestling and one of the greatest moments for WCW. And they had that period where they were ruling the Monday Night Wars. With Hogan, Nash, and Hall, and then it just fizzled. They didn't know where to go with the direction after a while. But in the beginning, with Hogan, Hall, and Nash, that turn, the heat that they got and the run that they had for that period until it just got dragged out was just, beyond, and it just fizzled out, really. A couple of regrets with, I guess, that I would have wanted to see. They didn't do proper with Ric Flair and Hogan when Flair came up in the WWE. That should have been a WrestleMania match, and the build should have been for WrestleMania between the two, and they just didn't have the chemistry when they did fought in the Garden. It had no build. Ric Flair, Ric Flair and Hogan should have been a main event at WrestleMania, hands down. And there was just no proper build for it at all. It just fumbled. Yeah, they wrestled in WCW and all, but initially when Flair came up, they dropped the ball with that, and it's just disappointing. They've had some decent matches. Flair carried Hogan. There's no doubt about it. Flair carried him, but they both can talk. So there was no doubt there. Orndorff's cage with Hogan, on Saturday night's main event when they hit the floor together. Yeah, a lot of people said that Orndorff should have had the run. And maybe dethroned Hogan and, put Hogan back on the chase. I would have liked to have seen that. Piper never took a fall against Hogan, in the WWF days. He did not. I don't remember in the WCW if Piper actually got legitimately pinned or not, but not in the WWF days. He did not. But Hogan fought everybody. He fought everybody. He defended the title, 300 plus days a year. You can't argue that at all. Of what he has done. He's got to be on your Mount Rushmore of professional wrestling for what he did for the 80s and 90s in the business, despite the problems. Yeah, and there were some downfalls with his family and falling out with his daughter, but I'm sure his daughter today is grieving the loss of her dad. That is still her father. No matter what you say or how you feel, Brooke Hogan is Hulk Hogan's daughter, and I'm sure that she is very sad and somber and disappointed about what happened to her father. I'm sure she did not wish anything harm on her father. Look, my father passed away 3 years ago, and I didn't get along with my father, but I did not wish my father dead or wish my father ill will. And he was about the same age as Hogan was. So, I'm sure Brooke does not feel, how she's feeling right now is probably very sad and somber. And, and I hope they give the family, her and Nick, the time to grieve, and what they're ready, they will make a statement I'm sure that they will. But this is a very sad day for professional wrestling, all of professional wrestling in general, because Hogan gave life to the 80s and had that crazed boom for the WWF days with the WrestleManias and say your prayer, take your prayer, your vitamin, the whole, Hulk Hogan put wrestling on the map. We watched wrestling because of the Immortal One. And unfortunately today, Thursday, July 24th, 2025, Hulk Hogan has passed away at the age of 71. The immortal Hulk Hogan has passed away due to cardiac arrest. And it is very, very sad. My thoughts go out to Bill Apter. I have not spoken to Bill, but Bill Apter, if you see this video, Bill has spoken and been around Hogan many times throughout the 60 years that Hogan's been in the business, and they've both been in the business through the AWA days. Remember, Hogan was a part of the AWA, and Bill Apter was an interviewer, so they've crossed paths many, many times, and I'm sure Bill Apter will be posting a statement regarding Hogan. And all the wrestlers will, regardless of what you feel personally about his views and things. But Hogan, the wrestler, the character Hulk Hogan brought wrestling to the forefront, to the mainstream media, and we can't forget the contributions of what he did. I understand there's a lot of negativity regarding, his, potential or, alleged racist remarks, and then the Bubba Love incident, divorce from his wife, and people that may be thrown under a bus. Look, we don't know the whole truth, but be that as it may, let's take the time to not reflect on all the negative things. The man is no longer with us. He has passed away. He's in the next world, the afterlife. Let's remember the good things about Terry, regardless of how you feel, but let's remember the good things. Maybe there's a match, a promo, or something that stood out. Let's also not forget he did a lot for the Make-A-Wish Foundation and the children. That is on record. He had given a lot to the children of the Make-A-Wish Foundation. Long before John Cena broke the record, Hulk Hogan was the one granting wishes to millions and millions of children through the Make-A-Wish Foundation. So we can't forget the contribution that he gave to the little Hulkamaniacs and the little Hulksters that wanted to grow up. His shops, I'm sure, are not going to close. I don't think that his shops will close. I'm sure that they will stay there as an iconic memory so that people can have nostalgia. I'm sure Eric Bischoff and maybe the family will keep the shops open for nostalgia purposes at the very least, and I'm sure that they will. But this is a very, very sad moment, and my thoughts and prayers go out to the family, the fans, his children. Say what you want, but Hulk Hogan, the Immortal One, will be on your Mount Rushmore professional wrestling. WWE Hall of Famer. He was inducted with the WrestleMania 1, if you remember, with Piper, Orndorff, and Orton, and Sheik, and all those guys. He was inducted there, and he had one of the longest ovations in the history of the WWE Hall of Fame. If you remember when his induction finally came about, he had one of the longest standing ovations in the history of the WWE, of the ceremony itself. So the fans appreciated it back then, and a lot of people do appreciate it now and will always remember Hulk Hogan. When you play Rick Derringer's song, I'm a real American and I fight for the rights of every man, that's what the Hulk Hogan character did. He was the ultimate good guy versus evil during the Hulkamania run. And then, of course, he became the bad guy, but that whole persona, the good versus evil, was what Hogan represented back in those days. In wrestling, look, we tune into Saturday night's main event. We tune into the Madison Square Garden or Toronto Maple Leafs or Boston, Philly, the LA Coliseum. Wherever you were, we tuned in and watched. And Hogan, was the highlight of the program. You came out to see Hogan wrestle. You see Hogan hulk up and do the whole thing and pose for the fans and what have you. And 71, let me say, 71 is people say it's young, but you have to understand, Hogan wrestled 300 plus days a year for how many decades? He's had about how many surgeries that he's had on his body? I mean, think about it. I mean, how many surgeries did he have? It's it's amazing that he lasted as long as he did. Think about it. Think about it. Regardless if you felt that he did steroids, I don't doubt that he didn't, like a lot of them did. But 71 years old for a professional wrestler, especially when Piper died in his 60s and Orndorff passed away from cancer. But, Hogan, Bruno lasted almost till 80. But Hogan in his 70s, 71 years old, that's pretty darn good. He lived the life. Who can say, you didn't live the life? Seriously, think about the life that he lived for 71 years. I think we all can wish that we had that, the money and the fame, the fortune, the fans. They're the things outside the ring and things that we don't agree with and I don't agree with. But who wouldn't want to live his life? Who wouldn't want to live that kind of life? There is not anybody that that you talk to that wouldn't trade your life for the life that he lived. You were going to die at 71. So it's unfortunate. Yes, he did have cardiac arrest. It was reported by Tampa police and the EMTs. Sadly and tragically, the immortal Hulk Hogan has passed away at the age of 71. It is a tremendous, terrible loss for the world of professional wrestling, for the fans, for everyone involved. It is going to hurt a very, very long time. Unexpected. Yes, there were reports going around for the last couple weeks that he was in a coma and everything else. We don't know the truth. He hasn't surfaced or anything. His wife was speaking for him, so he may not have been doing very well at all. He may have not been well. We don't know. But needless to say, your Mount Rushmore of wrestling has to have Hulk Hogan on it, no doubt about it. Evolutionized the way professional wrestling was, that brought wrestling to the forefront into the 80s with Hulkamania, the NWO. His contributions cannot go unnoticed, despite what we may feel of some of the things that he didn't. We're human beings, no one is perfect. But at the end of the day, this is still a very sad, tragic loss. So my thoughts and prayers once again to Terry's family, his wife, his children, Nick and Brooke, to Bill Apter, who had known Hogan forever, and anyone who's ever interacted with the immortal Hulk Hogan. My thoughts and prayers. So right now, I think Hogan's is in heaven, and Gorilla Monsoon and Bobby Heenan are ready to call the main event. Hulk Hogan versus Andre the Giant. Andre's waiting, and I think they're going to have a match in heaven. And it could be fitting, or maybe Piper and Orndorff may be lining up, and Randy Savage lining up to take on Hogan next. Who knows? But despite this is a very tragic, sad loss. So the immortal Hulk Hogan passed away July 24th at the age of 71. A terrible loss. Rest easy, Hogan. I may not agree with Terry Bollea, the person, of a lot of things that were outside of it, but the Hulk Hogan character, the immortal Hulk Hogan character, the legend of what you brought to the squared circle will live on forever. Rest in peace, Hulk Hogan. Thank you for this edition of Rough Cuts. I'm Sal Lasardo reporting in from Orlando. Thank you. Be safe. Be well. Rest easy, Hogan. Thank you for the memories. They will last a lifetime. And as always, fans, may all your matches be a main event. Say a prayer. Get on YouTube, the WWE Vault, and find a Hulk Hogan match. Play a Rick Derrigan song. I'm a real American, and be proud of it. God bless.